Hello, my name is Sophie and welcome to this year's version of Business Battlefield's Leaders Live, an interview series where we sit together with the leaders of our partners discussing this year's overarching theme, responsible leadership. With me today is the CEO of Thylander, Kristian Krogh. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Firstly, tell us a little bit about your experience within leadership and how you came to the position you are in today, being the CEO of Thylander.
Well, to be honest, to start with, it's not a thing that I have thought a lot about over the years. It's been basically I've been going to work for 35 years, and it's been a journey through different parts of the real estate industry, through different jobs, and so it's not like it was a well laid out plan from the beginning, but it was, well, things that evolved over time. My journey has been through the construction industry, working with finance, with business development, crossing into the investment part of the business, and I had different. I had the first people referring to me. I was probably 26 back then, so. And that was, it's been different setups through different jobs over time, and certainly the big move to the position I have today was just 3 years ago. So that was really when the whole concept of how to run a large organization started to get a bit more serious.
And building a little bit upon this, how would you describe your leadership style today, and has that evolved throughout time?
Well, definitely it has evolved. Again, I think in some way you have to find your own feet. It's not a thing that you set out and define from the beginning. This is how I am. I think it basically depends on how are you as a person. And to be honest, I don't think I was very good at it in the beginning. But I would say the older you get, you actually realize the importance of having, there's no alternative to having a great team with great people doing the job. Some way down the road you can try to do everything yourself, but that's not a long-term sustainable model. So I would say it's even clearer today than ever than getting bright, positive people on board and organizing them in the right way so they enjoy going to work. That's the winning formula.
Mm-hmm. And what characteristics would you say a leader should have? And is it something that you can build upon, or is it something you're just born with?
I guess the correct answer in a CBS context would be a very stringent answer, where it's 1, set up the right strategy, 2, set up the right business model, and 3, set up the right team and organization. But then, other than that, I think it's very basic things as being authentic, being yourself, having a high degree of integrity. You can pretend and you can play a role some way down the road, but eventually people will look through you and say, we don't really buy that. So for me, it's always been trying to be very transparent in always communicating what we do and why we do it, and how we do it, or how we discuss how we do it. It's the difficult thing about the integrity part and some of the other soft aspects is some of it is that's basically from our childhood. That part, I don't know if you can learn that, but you can definitely learn to be a good leader. That's not something that you're born with.
Yeah, and from your experience, what advice would you give to young leaders or young students aspiring to become leaders?
There are a number of answers. You could take different angles on that one, because first of all, it's like when a question like that, you set out the success criteria as being a leader, and that is not necessarily the success for everyone. You should set out to find the position or the job and the work and the organization where you're happy to do what you do, because there's always a flip side also to the role, and that's, you know, when you step into, say, my job now and a CEO position, that's also the point where you never stop worrying. You have worried all the time about everything, and the advice would be take it easy, actually, because, you know, I think there are a lot of ambitious young people out there, and some are maybe even too eager. Take it easy sometimes, and don't be too picky, or don't be too pushy on the things, and just show that you do your job well. And you can be sure that if you're in the right environment, people will notice. Make your success criteria, define them as helping the organization and the business to be successful, and your colleagues to be successful. Because if you do that, you'll get a very long way, and it will be noticed. And I think some of the young people, they are afraid that they're not being noticed, but they are. Otherwise, you're in the wrong business if people don't notice. You'll find out in due course. And then be curious. Use every situation you can to learn something new. And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, for sure, and learning by doing as well. So how would you say that, is there any situation that has built up your leadership skills, or a situation where you have done something wrong and you have to, you know, pick yourself up from there?
You can learn from your own mistakes, but you can also learn throughout the years. I would say you learn a lot from looking at the leaders in your organization and from their mistakes, because that's for sure they will make a lot of mistakes. But I think it can be quite good, actually, maybe also as a new employee in a business, to really take that management or mismanagement as a learning situation, because you can reflect on what would I have done differently if it was me now, or in 5 years' time, or in 10 years' time. So I definitely have one from my working life at a very early stage, where I joined an organization there was a reshuffle for everything, and we had to let 5 people go, and the CEO asked me to do the hard job of telling them, and to me, reflecting back on that, I would say that was a huge failure. That was almost traumatic to me in that situation, calling person after person into my office and saying, sorry, you're fired. I never tried that before, but that was one for the learning curve. But I would never expose my own young employees to that in that same way.
This year's theme for Business Battlefield is responsible leadership. How would you say your experience within the real estate business and responsible leadership has affected your practice?
The whole real estate business or business real estate complex is really a huge mix of different disciplines and different businesses, ranging from construction business to architects to financing and investment. So it's sometimes also we use the term real estate industry, but then again we probably we're not quite sure what we mean when we say it. It impacts a lot of people, and for good reasons, because we spend all our time somehow in buildings, and the time that we don't spend inside the buildings, we spend between the buildings. So that's the whole built space. So obviously it does impact life and life quality, and that realization of our responsibility and impact has changed, and it's really moved high on the agenda. It used to be we only had one scoreboard, and that scoreboard was profit at the end of the year. How much money did we make? And and that is changing. We are introducing more, or we are being introduced to, and we are introducing scoreboards on both the E and the S and the G in ESG and the whole, and we're being confronted with our huge responsibility in terms of sustainability and so on. And we in Thylander, we have made a firm decision that we want to be on the forefront of this. We realize we are nowhere near in a position where we can save the world, but it starts with accepting the challenge and realizing that we can make an impact. And then our participation here in Business Battlefield is also reflects that realization. When we got the opportunity, and thank you for that, we grabbed it and said, yes, let's do that. Someone will challenge us, and let's make the best of it. Everyone wants to stand for responsible leadership, so we have to put some substance into it, and that's also where you guys come in and challenge us, push us to the next level.
Thank you all for listening. I hope this have given you some advice about responsible leadership, and thank you to Kristian Krogh to come and share your experience within responsible leadership.
Thank you very much.